So, welcome everyone. We all know that 2020 was an eventful and unforgettable year for all of us. As challenging as it was for most of us, still we were able to hold on to our jobs, and we are grateful for that. And we also figured out how to uh, live with this pandemic by adjusting our life and work situation. And So 2021, we're already 1 month into 2021. Looks like our routine has not changed much. Um, so, so how can we kind of use this, the whatever learnings that we did, takeaways from 2020, how can we uh, adjust our life in 2021 to more effectively deal with what's in store? So when I was thinking about this presentation, um, I saw an email from Heartfulness. Daji sends out uh, emails, I think once a day, some kind of inspirational messages. So you can sign up for that. So this caught my attention. Rather than making efforts to balance life, look to integrate. So we have all heard of balancing material with spiritual, balancing work life situations. So we have heard about that, and we have tried to do that. Some of us have taken, you know, kind of a spiritual practice. So in order to, we think, balance our material life, our other life. But I think this statement says that perhaps a better way to is to integrate the two lives, our material life, so-called material life, and the spiritual life. If we keep them separate, it's always going to be hard to balance. So better way to do that is to integrate. So there's no kind of difference in how we operate in our material life, whether it's at work or family, or in a grocery store. It should be similar to how we behave. When we, for example, when we are meditating or go to a spiritual retreat or a workshop, so we can't keep these two, you know, separate. So we have to integrate, and so that's the only way we can truly benefit from a spiritual practice, and it can be a transformational practice. Is to integrate it. So how do we do that? So meditation transforms us from the inside. I think we have all kind of understand this, and we are learning, through the Heartfulness meditation, and some of us have some kind of experience with this. But we have to cooperate with this change, with this organic change that comes through. We have to cooperate externally in terms of our attitudes and behaviors. So then only it can be a transformational change. So in other words, we have to integrate our being with our doing, or our inner being with our external manifestation. And our practice, helps with this transformation, because with the practice, we get refinement of our subtle bodies. I think we have heard about the um, our mind, intellect, and consciousness. This is the subtle body that actually gets impacted from a meditation practice, or um, affected by meditation practice. Our consciousness expands. So even with all of these, so even with all of these, we still have to cooperate in our external field. So otherwise, uh, we are not going to get the full benefits of a spiritual practice. And we have also heard how does this happen. And let's see. Okay, here is the yoga philosophy uh, in a graphical representation. Some of us are familiar with it. Um, Yoga is a systematic, integrated practice, and there are 8 elements in yoga philosophy. And most people are familiar with the posture asana. And here in the Raja Yoga tradition, we are doing the meditation or the dhyana. But an integrated approach, consists of all the 8 elements. Yama, starting from yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Those are the 8 elements. You can also think of these as I mentioned, the inner and the outer. So the outer aspects, most definitely the posture, but even before the posture, our conduct and codes of conduct are very important in yoga practice. Otherwise, asana will become just like any other physical exercise. So, if you want an integrated practice, you have to include. And in the heartfulness meditation, we are already doing the pratyahara, the withdrawal, dharana, focus, and meditation. And ultimately, the object is to um, go back to our original state, the original condition, or the balanced state from which we all uh, have arrived, you know, uh, in this manifested world. So, um, and then let's see here. Here's an example of yama. What is yama? For many of us from the Hindu tradition, yama reminds us of the Yamaraja, the god of death. No need to be scared. In the yoga philosophy, yama actually refers to refinement of our being or of our external um, state by using these elements of ahimsa, non-violence, satya, truthfulness, honesty, brahmacharya, moderation of the senses, and then attitude of non-possessiveness. So those are so there is a kind of a path led to us, given to us by the yoga philosophy, and as you know, it is consistent with what we learn in the heartfulness. And here, this is the 10 maxims of heartfulness that our heartfulness masters have given us, being broken down into these 5 different elements, um, kind of a modern take on the 10 maxims that I've mentioned a couple of times in our classes. So, how do we become a better version of ourselves? How do we upgrade upgrade our operating systems, so to speak? So the first element consists of the practice. Create a daily morning meditation practice and use a scientific approach. Think of it as an experiment you're doing it on yourself. And then we also have other elements of the practice that we've talked about. And then a prayer meditation by the end of the day. And then how do we cooperate with our external attitudes by using the essential values? Live in tune with nature. And then be truthful, and accept challenges for our own betterment. And then 6, 7, and 8, once again, are uh, everything to do with our attitudes and personality and acceptance of what happens in the external world, uh, sometimes on which we don't have much control. But by using these principles, we can integrate our being with doing. And then finally, we end up we end with the ninth, becoming a role model by inspiring others with our actions. And then finally, continuous improvement, using a modern take on number 10 by doing introspection. Our bedtime meditation is basically an introspection of what happened, scan through the day, and then see where we need to correct, and to make sure that we don't keep making the same mistakes again. So that's kind of in a nutshell, how we can integrate our practice, with our attitude and personality changes that are required, so that um, we are in harmony, with the practice. We're not just doing the practice. Otherwise, the practice can also become like going to a church or a temple once a week, um, and it has some benefits, but you will not be uh, you will not be able to bring the principles into our daily life. So that's what I just wanted to present this as a theme for 2021, for the new year. Let's make this a more integrated practice. Think of how the practice uh, affects us in daily life, how we can take it into our daily life 24/7. So, with that, we will go into our practice today. We start with the